So back to the journey.
Back to the journey. Where we left off, it was.
Yeah, where we left off was, dude, I get this huge break by being signed as a client,
Right.
which means I can save some money and not be so broke and destitute and shower and flying J truck stops anymore, which was a big relief because those places can get really weird.
Nasty.
So, anyways, through all this, man, I will let me just say, there's no way that I would have made it, one, to LA, two, through those first 6-8 months without Jesus, my Lord and Savior, right by my side. I mean, honestly, growing up in the church and having my faith and just believing that the Lord was going to watch out for me and look out for me and was just paramount to staying sane and continuing to push forward and grind it out. And I can look back now on so many times where I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And the Lord would bring something in my life that totally would change the game. And he did that so often.
Wow.
And so, I mean, really, when I look back, I'm like, I had no business being out there. I'd never acted before in my life.
Right.
I didn't go to acting school. I didn't go to college to act.
But God had a plan.
Yeah.
That's what's wild
right
about your story.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's crazy is I didn't really know what that plan was. I just knew that I didn't want to sit in a cubicle and work. Like, it just wasn't me. Like, so, and when I kind of put two and two together with that being a real job and having the opportunity to go out there because of John and Simmons and Scott and the people involved in that company. So anyways, cut to, I get my first film called Bring It On Again, which was the sequel to Bring It On, which was a massive success. That was Kirsten Dunst and
Are you in there?
No, Gabrielle Union. And the reason I'm not in there is because I was not a cheerleader. So the funny thing, obviously it's a cheerleading show, but of course, me being at that time, I was still 240 pounds, big dude, had played football, and so at that time, the role that I got was a football player,
right?
And of course, he was this cocky football player. Yeah. Who tried hooking up with all the cheerleaders. So it's just like these scuzzy lines, like at frat parties and
Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. And it just get turned down. So yeah, like one of the scenes is I'm talking to one of the cheerleaders and I think it was actually, I forget her name now, but she ended up being on One Tree Hill right there in the middle. I'm totally brain farting on her name. Anyways, we're in a scene together and talking to her and like, how's how you doing? Just like kind of regular questions. And you can tell like, I'm just trying to get to this, like what I really want to know because I'm not really paying attention to her answers. And after this line of questioning and we're kind of talking and I'm like, so what's your bra size? I hear you're a B cup.
Oh, really? That's what they had written into the show.
Oh yeah. Like I'm just trying to hook up. Like they're like total jock. So that was my first job, man.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. This is your first gig.
Yeah, it was my first job. And what was funny about it is, I think I worked for like 3 weeks on this picture. And I got paid, an actor's salary, which at the time was more money at any one time that I'd ever seen. And so I'm like,
well, coming from living in Flying J and
right. I'm like,
you're
dude,
like, hallelujah,
I can take a little break. I don't need to train for a bit. Wrong. So it's like you learn lessons along the way, right? So anyways, after Bring It On Again, I start kind of rolling into a nice rhythm where I'm getting some guest stars and some smaller co-star stuff, but worked on CSI Miami and into NCIS, NCIS Los Angeles, 2.5 Men. So this
I was going to say, NCIS, isn't that with LL Cool J?
Yeah, so this picture is actually from NCIS, the regular NCIS with Mark Harmon.
Oh, I got you.
Which for me was huge because being an athlete and stuff, I was a Mark Harmon fan long before he was an actor.
Right.
Mark Harmon, not many people know this, at least that I talked to. Mark Harmon was a stud football player for UCLA. Stud.
I
like total stud, All-American. So I was already a fan of his, and then I kind of fell in love with just Mark Harmon, the actor, the small film he did called Summer School, which was just a hilarious comedy, and I thought he was freaking funny. And so anyways, when I got this job.
So what was it like working with Mark Harmon?
Oh, it was amazing. Great dude.
Is he?
Yeah, super kind, really humble.
I mean, this is really why I'm here on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was awesome. And then, yeah, I get NCIS Los Angeles and get to work with LL. Which was, and Chris O'Donnell, of course, but LL was super cool. I mean, obviously grew up listening to his music.
Right,
and,
same here.
So it was awesome to get to work with him. Again, unbelievable dude, super cool.
Really? Really? For real? You're not just joking around?
No.
Like LL was, he was legit.
Yeah, a lot of, just, what was cool about LL.
He didn't treat you like you're just a guest star.
No, and what was cool about it at this point, I mean, he had already been massively successful as a recording artist. And then, of course, he transitions into acting, and he's killing it on this show.
Right.
And doing really well. And, man, total professional. Like, always on time, at least when I worked with him. Super nice, was concerned with how you were doing in the scene. You good with this? You cool with that? Are we shooting this right? Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Wanted to make sure.
Awesome.
I got my camera time as much as he did. And so it was great. It was great.
That's awesome. Now, not everybody in the industry is like that, I'm guessing.
No, I mean, we
don't want to throw anybody under the bus and run over them.
Yeah, you definitely have some moments. I've had far less, thank God, than a lot of people I know or talk to who just have had some terrible run-ins with either big talent actors or directors or whatever. I will say, I think my second or third job I got was on a show called Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
I don't think we have a picture of that, do we, Tim?
No,
I don't think we do. Yeah, Sabrina. Yeah.
And it was awesome because Sabrina, I knew about the show. It had been on forever, but it was my first big top of show guest star job.
Right.
Meaning I was like storyline B. I was the other story besides the main cast. Right.
Gotcha.
And I was playing this character named Stacy, and I was a housekeeper.
You're a housekeeper?
Yeah, and I get hired by Melissa.
Wait, like vacuuming house?
Yes.
For real?
I ran a house keeping service.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
So I get hired by Melissa Joan Hart and the girl who plays her roommate to clean their house.
Oh.
But when they called and hired Stacy, they thought they were hiring a girl. So I show up, and her roommate like opens the door. I'm like, "Hey, I'm Stacy," and she's smitten and is like having me do all this. She turns the heat on in the house, so I have to take my shirt off to clean.
Really?
Like doing all these terrible things. So she just sitting on the couch like watching me, like what I do. But that job was, I wouldn't say it was a bad experience. It was just the first time, and like I said, it was like my third or fourth job, and it was a big job for me especially.
Right.
Henry Winkler directed this.
Really?
Yeah, from Happy Days, right?
Really?
And the
Fonz.
Yeah, and yes, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing.
I've arrived.
Yeah, and but he was really tough.
Seriously?
Yeah, and really tough on me in particular because I was a guest star. And
right.
And so, anyways, that was kind of like my first thing of like, all right, when you come into a show as a guest star, you better know your stuff, hit your lines. Make sure, and not everyone was like that, obviously. And I'm not saying he was bad. It's just, it was one of those days where I was like, okay, this is a job and better be good at it and better show up. And you're not the star of the show. Make sure you hit your lines so they can move on to the more important people. Yeah. But it was a great experience. It was a learning experience. So anyways, like I said, man, the good Lord just kind of kept blessing me with jobs on shows that had legs, which is another really kind of important thing in the acting world. It's a lot of people work on, shows or films that never see the light of day, right? They'll do pilot after pilot after pilot, or they'll shoot an episode of a show that never airs because it gets canceled before that episode actually is supposed to run.
That would be so difficult.
Yeah, so
you pour your heart and soul. I'm not just getting paid, but you pour your heart and soul into it.
Right. I mean, the paycheck starts to become ancillary, right? Because you're going to make money, you're going to get paid. But if nobody is seeing your work,
Oh, gosh.
and it's nothing that you can put on a demo reel that anyone is going to recognize, it doesn't drive your career forward. And really, what's funny about this industry is nobody wants you until somebody wants you, and then everybody wants you. It's just very strange. Man. And it can happen like that. But if you're doing things that never really see the light of day, it's really hard to get that traction, right? So I like I said, I just got super blessed in the fact that the jobs that I did end up getting were on shows like this that did have legs, that were.
Tim, what's the next one?
That were 3-4 seasons in, or would have 8 seasons and playing on different networks. So my face was just getting out there a lot, which is great, which helped with getting other work. So yeah, man, this is The Guardian, and this.
What was it like working with Ashton Kutcher and Kevin Costner?
So this was 2006 when I auditioned for this, and this was my first big movie. And I remember auditioning for this and just being like, I had to audition for this job 4 times. So I went and auditioned for casting 3 times, and then I read for the director, and then I had to do a swim test because you got to swim in this movie. So I had to do a swim test as well. And it was at the swim test, there was a bunch of characters that got invited, but there was like 2 or 3 guys for every character that got invited to do the swim test. And it was kind of like the last test for this film. And for my character, it was me and this other guy named Brandon Mullally, who's actually a buddy of mine now, and he's a stuntman in Hollywood. But we were auditioning for the same role, and I end up getting it. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm about to work with Kevin Costner, who was, for me, he was on my short list. Like I had written a list of like 10 actors that I'd wanted to work with, directors that I wanted to work with in my career. And he was on that list, of course. Yeah. I mean, Kevin is just, the guy's been a bona fide movie star for 30 years, legendary. Right? At that point. And
even back then.
Even back then. And
today is Yellowstone.
Right. But then it was Dances with Wolves. It was, that he wrote, directed, produced, starred in. It won every Oscar. Is like just so what was legendary.
He like? Like LL Cool J, you said was really cool.
Really cool. LL was really cool.
But what was Kevin Costner?
So I go into this and I'm like, and then of course Ashton. I'll talk about Ashton just because I hope one day I get to work with him again. I think it'd be funny, but. So Ashton is obviously coming off massive success from that 70s show, right? And he's done films as well. Yeah. He did The Butterfly Effect and a few other films. I'm sure a lot of other films at this point. But this was like his first, I think, break as a leading man.
Beyond the 70s show.
This was his thing, to become this leading man. And he in the picture, he's a stud athlete. And he's cocky. And I think a lot of Ashton has a lot of confidence in himself anyway, but coming into this, I think part of him preparing for this role was having to put on some of that persona because it was a challenging role, man. I'll give it to him. We were swimming in the pool 6 hours a day for boot camp prior to shooting this. We all had to go through boot camp, and he was a stud. But anyway, we all get to boot camp, and I'm like, wow, this is so freaking, I can't, I'm like blown out of my mind, like about to work with Kevin Costner. Well, Kevin, obviously, so we're all in hotels, all the actors, the main actors, and Kevin, he's got a house where we shot this in Louisiana. And I'll never forget the second day after boot camp, we spend 6 hours in the pool in the morning swimming, and then we have lunch, and then we go out to what they called the PT grinder, which is basically just an asphalt parking lot where they put us through another 3-4 hours of PT.
Right.
Crunches, running, sit-ups, calisthenics. So
good night.
And then production came and pick us up. But the second night, Kevin invited all of the principal actors over to his house, and he cooked us dinner.
Really?
Yeah.
He didn't have like a chef come in?
No. So like Kevin, he was grilling out and cooking us dinner. And there was like 8 of us at the house. And he's like, hey, guys, dinner's ready. Come on, dig in. And, man, we sat in his living room. It was so surreal because I was
That's so wild.
It was like, I'm just sitting in the living room hanging out with my dad or someone, but it's Kevin Costner. And I'm these are all my co-stars or I'm there, whatever.
Yeah, right.
And he was just so freaking cool, man. He was asking us questions about our journey and our experience.
Really?
And, it was just, I couldn't believe how after all the success that he'd had and where he's been in the industry, just how humble and just nice he was. He was really,
and then he
really
genuinely
killer.
cared about you and
He
your
absolutely
journey.
did.
And where,
Absolutely did. And which leads me to the next point about him. And I'll tell this story till the day I die because I think it's still one of the coolest moments I've ever had in my life.
Really?
So we finish boot camp, and it was the week before Thanksgiving, and production was going on break for the week of Thanksgiving. So I think we finished boot camp on Friday. Well, our flights weren't scheduled to fly out until that next Monday or something. So we were just going to be hanging out in Louisiana, doing nothing for the weekend, and Thanksgiving was coming up. Well, Kevin came up to me and a couple of the other actors. I guess I don't really know why I got asked, but other than I felt like we hit it off. But he was leaving that day.
Yeah.
He has a private jet,
Yeah.
right? So he's like, I'm out. Boot camp's over. I'm done.
You got the private
So,
jet.
but he comes into the locker room. I'll never forget this. When we're done with boot camp, we're all changing. We're like, yeah, I guess what are we gonna do tonight? We're not flying out till Monday, whatever. Kevin comes in. He's like, hey guys, I just heard production, doesn't have you flying out till Monday. Why don't you fly home with me right now? You want to fly home with me right now?
Really? On the PJ, on his private jet.
So me and this other actor, Peter Gale, was his name. We look at each other because Peter was standing next to me, and we were like, "Yeah, we'll come." So
did you have to think about
yeah. So literally, he was like, "All right, we'll go ahead and get dressed, and then come on out because we're leaving right now."
How big was his jet?
It was a G4.
I don't
So
know.
just a big private,
big ass plane.
yeah, like a big, beautiful private jet. So it wasn't like a prop plane. It was a jet. And so we load up in the production vehicles, and they take us to his plane. And man, we flew from Louisiana back to LA on his jet, and it was me, Peter Gale, two of the other actors, and I'm brain farting on their names right now. Sorry, but Ashton Kutcher, Ron Brinkerhoff, who's the writer of The Guardian, and Demi Moore.
Oh, and Demi. But Demi and Ashton were like hooked up at that point.
They were married.
They were married at that point.
Demi and Ashton were married at that point, and Demi was on set all the time as well, who was cool as heck.
Really?
But they were all on the plane, and I just remember sitting there. We're getting served steak on the plane.
Did Kevin cook it?
No, but it was on there. So we're eating our dinner, and I just remember looking up and seeing Demi Moore, who, like, oh my God, it's G.I. Jane right there.
Right, G.I. Jane.
Kevin Costner, and then of course Ashton, and it just, again, one of those moments where I'm like, God, thank you so much. Man. Like I don't even deserve to be on this plane, and here I am, and so it's just a great moment, man, and again, a great experience.
You hit the nail on the head on something there, where you in the moment give glory to God.
That's right.
In the moment, go, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
This is crazy. God, thank you so much.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes we can miss that moment of really thanking the Lord for being at that moment in time.
Yeah.
Because it's the pride will feel, oh, yeah, I deserve to be here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think in the industry, especially in the Hollywood world, that can happen real easily. And so, yeah, I don't know if it's just because I never had, formal training and I've always just felt so lucky every time I've gotten a job and blessed to have gotten a job in a job like this. So, Tim, I don't know what our next one is. Teen Wolf. Yeah. What's funny about this, man, is so it was my first time doing a show that I got to actually use prosthetics and actually get dressed up like this.
Right.
And it was just awesome. So Teen Wolf I never watched the show, but I was always a big fan of Teen Wolf, Michael J. Fox Teen Wolf. So when this show started, I was like, oh, it's cool. And then I kind of saw that it was a little darker, a little edgier. Yeah. And I was like, oh, pretty. I like vampire premises anyway, or werewolf premises anyway.
Yeah.
And so when I got this job, I auditioned one time for this job, which was amazing. Yeah, went in, auditioned. I was their only choice.
Really?
I think I maybe went back one more time to read for Jeff, the creator of the show, and that was it. Got the job, and it was to be one of the leaders of this new evil, badass pack of alpha wolves, which is why my eyes are red.
Okay,
so on the show, if you were an alpha, you had red eyes and everyone else had blue eyes. So, so anyways, yeah, I get to play this alpha wolf, Ennis, who was the heavy in the show. And, but like I said, it was the first time I got to dress up and put prosthetics on. So I had a nose piece, a brow piece, cheekbones, and obviously the ears, the chops.
How long did it take to put all that on, like makeup and whatnot?
So in the morning, whenever I did have to become the wolf, it would take about 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yeah, to get all this.
To do that?
Yeah, to get all that on. But what's cool is the teeth are real. So they made molds of my teeth.
Really?
And created like Invisaligns with the incisors on each. Yeah. So I had real molds. So I had real. They actually clicked in.
That's
and then
wild.
before I got the job, I had to go to an ophthalmologist. They measured my eyes and created contacts for my eyes. So, you know, you wear the contacts the whole day because they're fit for your eyes. And it was just super dope.
So you got red contacts on. Are you seeing red?
No. You could see perfectly. Your peripheral vision got a little blurry, but you could see perfectly. But yeah, it would take about 3 hours to get it on, and then take about an hour and a half to take off.
Get all
at the end of every day. That's crazy. Yeah, and that was just a lot of fun, man. And I get that Teen Wolf has such a cult following.
Yeah.
I get stopped a lot and recognized a lot from Teen Wolf. And I think when we were in the Azores, was one of the shows. So
we've been in Portugal and people have stopped you and like, hey, Teen Wolf, hey, we got a selfie. Yeah.
So again, that was just awesome. There's so many shows in between all of this. So like before Teen Wolf,
can't even talk about it all.
I would love to just say one of the biggest turns for me in my acting career that led to just kind of me not having to hustle so much from a standpoint of having a side hustle I could just concentrate on acting was a show that I got for HBO called Generation Kill. And it was a total game changer in my life and in my career. But and just from an experience standpoint, we shot that for 7 months in Africa, 6.5 months in Africa. But then I got back, got Teen Wolf, and then that last slide that you just had up there, Tim, was my character on a great show called Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And this character, actually, his name is Carl the Crusher Creel, a.k.a. Absorbing Man.
Absorbing Man, yeah.
And what was awesome about this was when I went into audition for this character, Marvel is so tight-lipped about anything that I had to sign an NDA. I had no idea who I was auditioning to play.
What?
And the sides, the material was just total like rubbish. It wasn't anything to do with the character. It was
you
just
literally
sides.
didn't know what you were auditioning for.
Like I had no idea what I was auditioning
crazy.
for. I just knew I was auditioning for the show.
That's so
So come to find out, I get the job.
Yeah.
They reveal to me who I'm playing, and I wasn't a comic book guy like at all growing up. So I had no idea about the Marvel world, with the exception of like the main characters, right? Yeah. So I get this job, and they're like, Brian, you're going to be playing Carl the Crusher Creel. And everyone's like, can you believe this? And I'm like, well, crap. So I start doing research. And so Carl Creel is an original Stan Lee creation.
Correct.
Right? Which was the coolest, because of course I knew who Stan Lee was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is massive.
Right.
Like this character was an original Stan Lee creation. And then come to find out, he's been in the comic books for the last 4 decades.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And not just like a small character. He's like a top tier villain with a main through line in the comic books. His main nemesis is Thor.
Yeah.
Like he's fighting Thor through all this. And the Incredible Hulk. Like he's fighting like the main characters of the Marvel universe. So when I get this job, I was just geeked out, man.
Cloud 9.
And then, of course, had an epic run on this show. I think I did 9 episodes, and then of course the show got canceled after season 7. But
7, yeah.
Just an awesome experience again. I mean, to work on a Marvel Universe show, which that universe now is ever expanding and just getting bigger, and everyone's doing epic things with that. So, like I said, the journey, man, has been so cool because within it, the Lord has just put me in shows that have had legs and that have been really recognizable.
So I've traveled with you a lot now, and I know one of the other big shows that people recognize you from is Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
So
yes. Which that picture right there.
Yeah, grab that down.
So,
talk to us about that.
Well, there
there you go. See,
Yeah, I'll
So
leave
talk.
that
I
there.
mean, people recognize you from Big Bang.
Yeah.
I mean, you shot that years ago.
Oh, man.
Still to this day, they recognize you. So
Oh,
talk to
yeah.
us about what's going on here.
Well, the reason why they recognize me from Big Bang is because this is, I think, in my opinion, and granted, there's been a lot of great comedies on air, Friends, Seinfeld,
Yeah.
but Big Bang Theory, if it's not the best, is definitely up there with those other couple of shows as the greatest comedy of all time to ever be written. And it was just a true blessing to have gotten this job. And the whole reason I got this job is because I had done an episode of 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen, and Chuck Lorre created 2.5 Men.
Right.
Chuck Lorre's a comic genius. So he goes way back. He created Roseanne, Dharma Greg, 2.5 Men, and then he creates Big Bang Theory the same time I shoot 2.5 Men. I think they were finishing up the pilot.
Yeah, we
and
don't
about
have
to
the
start
shot.
casting.
2.5 Men, you're on that.
Yeah.
A few episodes, right?
One episode of 2.5 Men. So they end up getting this picked up to do a pilot of, and this was actually my first job offer. So Chuck gave me this role of Kurt to play on Big Bang Theory, and little known to me and the rest of the cast during the pilot episode, which is that picture.
Yeah.
This is Johnny Galecki and Jim Parsons, Sheldon and Leonard on the show. This particular scene, they had knocked on my door because they had worked up the courage to come over and try and get Penny's TV back. And everyone knows this iconic scene where they knock on the door. I open it and they're like, maybe we don't want to see, but
we don't mess
like,
around
yeah, we're coming over here to get Penny. We think you should get Penny's TV back. And then of course they leave with no pants and no TV.
No pants.
So that kind of set the stage for Kurt. I was, on the show, Penny has a lot of ex-boyfriends and fiancés, and of course they end up getting married on the show, but I was the original ex-fiancé.
And Chuck Lorre wrote the part for you, right?
Yeah, he had me in mind for that part. So, which was really cool to have been a part of. And of course, then the rest is history, man. I mean, I go on to do several episodes in the first couple of seasons, but the show gets picked up and goes on for 10 plus seasons across multiple networks, and now it's on like 4-hour blocks on multiple networks.
Crazy.
And, yeah, so true. Like again, like I said, it is one of those things where I could have done the pilot and it not gotten picked up. No one ever saw it. No one ever knew about it. And it might as well have been like I just didn't do the job, right? But it went the other way. And now so many people recognize me from that, and it really has helped a lot in getting other jobs because of that job. So
we mentioned traveling together to Portugal,
yeah.
and people recognize you over in Portugal.
Yeah.
And that's probably another episode. Why
gotta keep
in the
watching.
hell were we in Portugal?
And why in the world do people recognize me in Portugal?
That's right.
That's right. So stay tuned.
So to bring it full circle, writing a book about Peter Francisco and this journey of bringing them to life on the screen, and Brian and I meet, and I mean, the reality is, look, I mean, like I said, there were so many producers that would tell me everything I wanted to hear and do nothing.
Right.
And I meet you, and bro, you're the first person in this industry that I knew I could actually trust. And I think Pastor Tarkington, a pastor friend of mine, your pastor growing up, telling me you were a man of integrity, that made the world of difference for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know I can trust this guy.
Yeah.
And so but then our journey began. But the reality is, I was like, Brian, if you want to go on this journey with me, you got to go see where Peter Francisco is from.
That's right. So off to Portugal we went.
To Portugal. But not just Portugal. We went off to an island.
Oh, yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
To the next episode.
Yeah, the journey has been amazing, and we want to invite you guys along. So click the subscribe button.
Hit it now.
Yeah, that's right. Hammer it. YouTube.